Under-19 Women's T20 World Cup is enveloped in all sorts of historic elements by dint of simply being the first ever edition of an age group tournament in women's cricket history. But the opening day of the tournament gave us a glimpse of what the world order might look in the near future, or a long-term one at that, thanks largely to the impetus of thrill and excitement that was generated by Bangladesh's massive upset over the Australia under-19s, and also India's thrilling win over the South Africa under-19s, the hosts, thanks majorly to both teams' stupendous effort with the bat. We'll discuss it all. Myself, Annesha Ghosh, and my partner in crime, Shweta Haranhalli, who sat nicely in this fancy-looking studio. Shweta, how has it been for you watching all the action emerge out of the Under-19 Women's T20 World Cup from South Africa?
Hey Anisha, it's wonderful to be back for the 7th episode and discussing everything that we love. And it has been an historic week as far as women's cricket is concerned. It couldn't have gone to a better start with Bangladesh's win over Australia. Um, I mean, it's a fairly young side, and I read a couple of interviews, and they're all probably in the age group of 16, 17, to not be intimidated by the Australian side. I think that was commendable on their part. And one of the things that age group cricket provides you is that there are young players who come with a clean slate. There is no baggage of past records. There's no baggage of the team, that what the team has done in the past. So that is something really exciting. It's just that world cricket it's obviously an historic day with the under-19 inaugural edition of the under-19 World Cup, the first game, and Bangladesh they just topped it up with everything.
Before we get into this video, don't forget to download the cricket.com app because it's brand new, and follow us on our social media handles.
To Bangladesh's credit, I think the tone for the victory was set by their captain Disha Biswas, who bowled a superlative opening spell. She is a right-arm medium pace, and she was able to get quality movement off the pitch, and her 2 wickets in the power play became a vital cog in them for probably believing in themselves that, we have a chance here. We are in with a real chance to cause an upset. Probably they did not approach this as them being pegged anywhere below the Australians. So they were very much backing themselves. You could see from their body language as well that they were there, and they were there to beat any opponent that were to come across them. And they, remember, had come into the tournament proper after defeating both their opponents in the warm-ups, and they were South Africa under-19s and India under-19s. And given those warm-ups weren't televised to stream, it wasn't possible for those who follow women's cricket closely, or even the fans, to make sense of how the India under-19s, who have done well throughout the lead up to the World Cup, went on to lose that one crucial game just ahead of the start of the series. But Bangladesh's performance in that tournament opener, literally the first game of the tournament, showed us why they were able to script that victory over the South Africa under-19s or the Indian under-19s in the warm-ups. Their captain set the tone, and then the kind of batting performance we saw, wow, the power hitting was, it was superlative, Dilara Akhtar, the wicketkeeper batter, was outstanding. So was Afifa Protasha and Shorna Akhtar. They were able to clear the boundaries with, delectable ease, and the kind of sixes they struck, those sixes would have been sixes on pretty much any ground, at any level of cricket. So that kind of tells you the kind of investment Bangladesh must have made in their power hitting, upping their power hitting game, which kind of still lacks in their senior women's team. The other match from the opening day that the world was kind of following very keenly was potential World Cup winners, one of the top contenders, if I am not to hype them up too much, India under-19s taking on the hosts. And it appeared how South Africa under-19 started out, that their batters, their batting lineup simply had conned them in the bilateral series, because here was a team that struggled to reach the 100-run mark in terms of putting on totals. And there they were in the opening match of their tournament, donking the Indian bowlers all around the park, thanks to Simone Lorenz, one of their openers, who struck a blistering 60-plus knock. What did you make of South Africa's batting performance, Shweta, and how India responded to that steep chase of 167? A successful one at that.
And I think let's get to South African innings. I remember in the four matches before the bilateral series, none of us expected South Africa to come out and start playing the way they have, especially with the performances they had in the lead up to the tournament. But to come out there and play a very fearless style of play, an aggressive style of play, actually helped them a lot. Obviously, uh, India were a little bit under pressure, especially with the ball. You can expect that in an opening game of a world event. You have to give it to them. They're young kids, they're learning the art. And but to be very honest, what was impressive for me was Shefali Verma taking the responsibility later with the bat, but first with the ball in the power play. When all the bowlers were literally leaking runs, for her to come into the power play and provide India that crucial breakthrough, I think that really helped the team. And with the bat, I think there is a lot of India is heavily reliant on Shefali and Richa. Richa, obviously, we did not, India were not, they just lost 3 wickets and she wasn't required to bat. But in a 160 plus chase for an under 19 cricket, let's be honest, it is a formidable total. We say that a formidable total even in senior cricket, but for under 19 cricket, a 166, 167 run is a very high total. And for her to come out and start playing aggressive brand of cricket, it I think just eased a lot of nerves in that dressing room. And with Shweta Sehrawat, she's a very, very bright prospect as far as Indian cricket is concerned. It's just incredibly calm head on her shoulder. The way she's gone about her business is something that Indian cricket is definitely going to enjoy a lot in the future.
We'll come to Shweta Sehrawat's superlative unbeaten 92, but staying with what you said about Shefali Verma, the off spinner that has really come into her own over the past few months, and the kind of breakthroughs she gave in that opening game against South Africa under 19s, she emerged the bowler with the best figures on the Indian bowling lineup. I mean, imagine saying that about potentially your most explosive batter in the lineup who's also your captain. So that bowling performance must have injected some degree of confidence in Shefali Verma, the batter and the captain, because earlier on when the South Africa under 19s were tonking them all around the park, she did look under severe pressure. She was making fielding changes left, right and center. She did not deploy pace for a second over in that game after the opening over, which cost India 20 runs. Shabnam MD, the fast bowler, delivered that over, and she isn't the kind of pace bowler who would go for that many runs. So it kind of put India on the back foot. But come the chase, Shefali Verma put her hand up, and the best part of it was potentially how Shweta Sehrawat led India, shepherded them through the many ebbs and flows of that steep run chase. 167, as you rightly mentioned, is no walk in the park, no matter what level you're going to play in, especially in the shortest format. For Shweta Sehrawat to have taken her time, and the way Shefali Verma supported her early in the innings, giving her those taps on her shoulder, going over to the other end, the non-strikers end or the strikers end, to have a bit of a chat, that was very crucial. And that gave us an insight into the captain Shefali Verma as well. That must have for sure helped ease the nerves down as far as Shweta Sehrawat is concerned. One over that particularly stood out for me, or one particular shot, in fact, from Shweta Sehrawat's innings was of leg spinner Seshni Naidu early in the chase, where Shweta Sehrawat was facing a short delivery, and it was wide enough for her to simply use the horizontal bat and cut it past point, and she would have perhaps fetched a four anyway. But to my surprise, and that of commentator Mignon Dupri, who picked that shot up really well, Shweta Sehrawat, what seemed like channeled her core strength, which is really, really good, it appears, and went for a vertical back shot and struck Seshni Naidu over her head for a four. And that was off a back foot. So you're literally playing a back foot vertical back shot to handle, to maneuver a delivery that could have been, dealt with better with just a traditional cut shot. So that kind of gave us an inkling of what kind of range of strokes Shweta Sehrawat possesses, and that 92, as we know it now, did include 20 odd boundaries. She got off She got to her half century with a four of a full toss. She was literally toying with the bowlers, using her angles very well as the match progressed, and ended the match with another four. No other, I mean, potentially as good and emphatic a manner to end that innings.
Yeah.
And her reaction, to the victory and the way she spoke after the match was also heartening. And that tells you that here is a player who, as you rightly said, could be a long-term, very good prospect for Indian cricket. And who knows, she has a great captaincy record as well, having led the Delhi under-19s, having led the India under-19s during the New Zealand
Yeah.
Development Series in Mumbai and in the quadrangulars. She is the kind of
Yeah.
calm head and a confident, grounded person that you might see in India colors in the captaincy role in the near future. So yes, I am actually backing her to go on to lead India women, the senior side
Yeah.
someday.
I mean, the one thing that impressed me the most about her was, when Shefali and Shweta walked out to bat, obviously there were all eyes on Shefali on how she's going to go about her business. But the best part was that even after Shefali's dismissal, she kept going. She kept, talking to the other batters. She took up that responsibility that, I am the vice captain. I've seen this team for the past 6, 7, 8 months, and I need to get this team over the line. So the best, I mean, as players and as coaches always say, once you get to that milestone of 50, 100, make sure you're unbeaten and guide the team over the line. So I think for her to remain unbeaten on 92 odd runs is something that probably Nushin Nalkadi would be more happy, because she's one of the key players, and India definitely relies heavily on her and Shefali at the top to give them a very solid start.
And she did look a bit like a young Harmanpreet Kaur. Her stance, she's quite tall
Yeah,
for an 18-year-old, mind you. She has those classical strokes like even a Laura Boulevard for that matter. So she
yeah,
is a combination of many classical and explosive batters, and with the kind of power she possesses. Remember, she did not go, all guns blazing in terms of clearing the
yeah,
boundary at will, but the power she generates to pick her gaps is kind of enviable, and we do not usually relate power hitting with four hitting in international
yeah,
cricket, but it was great to see a young, very young player who might have not built the kind of muscles as a Harmanpreet or a Smriti has at this point, or a Meg Lanning or Ellis Perry has, in their, or started having since they were in their early or mid 20s. So she will grow in strength, she will grow in stature and confidence. And here's hoping she gets the kind of guidance she needs for the sake of Indian cricket to realize her potential, which seems to be quite high, going by how she fared in that opening game. While the action from the Under 19 Women's T20 World Cup in South Africa is coming thick and fast, the country is also ground zero for another international series that begins this week in women's cricket, and that is the Tri Series featuring the hosts South Africa, India, and West Indies. Shweta, tell me, what are you looking forward to the most in terms of how India are expected to go about their business, how they're expected to utilize this one last preparatory exercise ahead of next month's very important T20 World Cup?
I think over the years, India as a T20 side has been fairly settled unit. I mean, as far as they're pretty much the same core of players who've played the T20 World Cup in Australia. This tournament is probably like a curtain raiser for them just to get acclimatized to the conditions. Obviously, they are missing Shefali and Richa. It provides India with another opportunity as to who opens with Smriti Mandana, because you don't have Shefali. So I personally feel that Jemima should probably slot her way back into the 11 and open the batting with Smriti. She's opened for Mumbai. She's done it in the past for the Indian team as well. She had a little bit of a lukewarm series against Australia at home, but she's a class player, and it's only matter of time. She's done it for the Indian team in the Commonwealth Games, and I would totally back her to do that again in South Africa.
So would you mean that with Jemima Rodriguez coming back into the 11 and potentially slotting in as the opener, that gives Harmanpreet Kaur the cushion to retain Harleen Deol in the lineup, who did amazingly well in that one opportunity she got in the last series, which was the home
Yeah,
series, the in the fifth match of the assignment against Australia, where she was run out
yeah,
after she had scored a quick fire 16 or 23 thereabouts, And that kind of gave us a bit of an insight into what a Halim Deol can bring to the table as far as a batting all-rounder who can bowl a bit of leg spin. So I think, slotting in Jemima Rodriguez would be a great option for Harmanpreet Kaur to impart more balance to the side, because that's what they have been lacking. While they have had the semblance of balance in their squad, one thing that I believe they should be looking forward to doing is clarity in role play. The roles that are assigned to these batters or the bowlers, that becomes critical ahead of a tournament or an assignment like the World Cup. So maybe with Jemima Rodriguez coming in as opener, Halim Diol maintaining her number three or middle order sort of a role, they could have more of a balanced starting 11 than just a balanced squad. But among bowlers, the series marks the return of Shikha Pandey, who had done very, very well in the domestic tournaments last year. What are you expecting out of Shikha Pandey's return? Does she slot back into India's 11 after a gap of over 12 months straight away?
For me, I think she's a like for like replacement for Pooja Vastrikar. If Pooja is fit, she definitely is back in the playing 11. But if Pooja does not make it to the team for this Tri Series or the T20 World Cup, then Shikha Pandey is definitely your all rounder that India would be banking upon. Another thing that with Pooja comes is obviously a lot of fearless attitude. She gives you those middle overs in the middle, and also some power hitting down the order. But India has always been hampered by with her injuries. So that is something that the team management would be keen to look at. And one of the reasons for Shikha's inclusion is to have some kind of cushion and experience as far as T20 World Cup is concerned. So if Pooja is fit, I don't see Shikha Pandey coming straight back into the 11, because for me Renuka, Pooja and Anjali would start along with the spinners. But if Pooja does not make it to the playing 11, then then Shikha Pandey definitely has 4 games to prove herself.
And in terms of the spin bowling contingent, they do have some good options there as well. We spoke about Harleen Kaur Deol, who is a part-time leg spinner. We would expect Devika Vaidya, who did quite well in the Australia series, to retain her slot in the 11 and be that lead spinner of sorts in a way, as far as leg spin bowling is concerned, because the leader of the spin bowling attack is, of course, Rajeshwari Gaikwad, the left arm spinner, who is expected to play that senior spinner role. But Devika Vaidya was able to get decent turn on even what were Pata. And yeah, the Mumbai tracks were flat tracks. They were, most innings had seen scores in excess of 160, 170 or thereabouts. So Devika Vaidya, despite the conditions in South Africa being typically in favor of batters and fast bowling, I expect her to do well. And it should also give India clarity on how well poised a bowling all-rounder like Devika Vaidya is to head into the World Cup. And she will be crucial to India's chances at the World Cup as well, because India do not have the services of Poonam Yadav any longer. And even in the domestic ranks, we do not see much of options coming up in terms of who that piece of leg spin bowling could be. So in Devika Vaidya rests a lot of hopes in terms of winning a world title for India. But how do you make of the
But
look
also, I
of
think one of the advantages that India have with Devika in the 11 is that she gives you the left-handed batting option. Apart from Smriti and Dipti, the middle order does not. Dipti obviously bats lower down the order in T20 cricket, but India do not have the luxury of having a left-handed batter in the middle order. And we're talking about matchups, we're talking about uh, how to counter leg spinners, left arm spinners, and a left-handed batter is always a plus. And I think Devika also adds value to that. She's an excellent fielder, so it's an all-round package. And I think India look pretty settled with her at number 5 at the moment.
to say that India do have a settled sort of a squad is something that would kindle a lot of hopes, Shweta, among those who follow Indian women's cricket, especially the senior national team, because that is one thing that keeps pegging them back at crucial moments, especially in world tournaments. So while they will be looking to finding the last sort of answers to the questions they will be facing during that tri series, an important series back home on the domestic circuit begins, and that is the senior one day trophy. where more than 36, around 37 teams representing their respective states would be participating, and the tournament is going to be held at multiple locations, including Pondicherry, Guwahati, Nagpur, and Mumbai, to name a few. What do you think that tournament holds as far as contextualizing where women's cricket in India is at right now, and also where women's cricket in, I mean, globally is at the moment? India will be hosting the World Cup in 2025, the 50 over World Cup, the last edition having been played in New Zealand last year, where India were knocked out in the league stage. So, what does this opportunity due to India's players, domestic players, capped and otherwise, in terms of trying to check out where they are at in terms of their aspirations to represent India at the 50 over World Cup in 2025?
I mean, if you ask any player who's representing one of the 37 states, the next 1 month is going to be very, very important for them. As players, you work hard for moments like these, for tournaments like these, and this just gives us an opportunity. 50 overs always gives you an opportunity to actually build an innings, or just work your way through a spell if you're a bowler. So if you ask any of the player, I think this is probably one of the tournaments they always want to play. I think there will be a lot of eyes on this tournament. There are a lot of India players who will be playing. They have a lot to prove with the ODI World Cup, with the with a lot of series coming up. So I'm very sure that this is going to be a highly competitive tournament. I'm looking forward to see probably Delhi play. I'm a huge fan of the way Priya Punia bats, and I've been an opposition captain, and it's pretty hard, when she is in full flow. So they have quite a few young players coming through the ranks. So pretty excited about how they play. In any domestic tournaments, railways are always your front runners. I think one of the reasons why India do not get over the line in pressure situations has always been because of the dominance of railways. They are not usually challenged in domestic cricket because it's a playing 11 that is full of India players.
Agreed. And as you rightly said, the 50 over format in women's cricket is never out of context,
Yeah.
thanks to the Women's Championship, which is currently seeing Australia take on Pakistan at home. Meg Lanning is back playing for Australia. So there's topicality around 50 over cricket, ODI cricket for all international women's teams that are part of the ICC Women's Championship. And in terms of, you know, kindling that hope for capped cricketers who have represented India, those who've been waiting in the wings for their opportunities, I believe Poonam Yadav will be one of those players who will be looking to perform well and trying to getting back her leg spin mojo, because she is also somebody involved with the railways and is likely to get a lot of opportunities. How she utilizes those opportunities, how she is able to up her skills, expand her armory, so to speak, because we've seen her being read in international cricket. That is literally what shoved her out of reckoning from the national side. So for her to be able to make a statement with the ball in the 50 over senior women's
Yeah.
championship over the next few weeks is going to be very, very crucial. And the selectors will have their eye out on players like Priya Punia, Poonam Yadav, the Chandigarh captain. She's been named the captain at quite a young age for a senior team. Kashvi Gautam is somebody I'm looking
Yeah.
forward to watching as well. She has been in and out of a few, challenger sides, and also was part of one of the women's T20 challenge squads, I believe. So looking forward to how Kashvi Gautam goes about her thing, because again, here's a young talent who could potentially do well for India, knock on the India doors. But so much of it will rely on these domestic tournaments after all, and how the India selectors are able to scout talent from these tournaments. And who knows, if somebody keeps churning out those massive centuries at a quick strike rate, that has been a moot point in Indian women's cricket for a long time. Remember, there is no Mithali Raj in the 50 over side any longer, no
Yeah.
Jhulan Goswami in the 50 over side for India any longer. So those are two very big shoes to fill for Harmanpreet Kaur, the now all formats captain, and for India long term. Speaking of the opening combination and who gets to partner Smriti Mandana at the top, the one option India will have at their disposal is Sabineni Meghna, who, remember, is part of the 18-member Tri-Series squad. And the Tri-City squad is a slightly bigger one as opposed to the squad selected for the World Cup, which is made up of 15 members. Does Sabineni Meghna get an opportunity at the top because she's open for
Yeah.
India's T20 lineup in the past?
I don't think so. The team management would go in that direction, especially because you want the players who are there in your T20 World Cup squad to get maximum opportunities and get acclimatized to the match condition. So, for that very reason, I think Jamiva would be probably the opener who would walk out with Smriti Mandana. Also, where one Shefali is back, these four matches will also give Harmanpreet Kaur a fair bit of idea about who is going to be India's number three. Is it going to be Harleen Deol? Because if Shefali was, if she was available to play, then definitely Jemmy would have to miss out on it, considering Harleen's performance in the last game against Australia. So these four matches will basically be an audition for the two as to who takes India's number three position. Unfortunately for Meghna, she might have to miss out only because the team management and the captain would want players who are part of the squad to play maximum number of matches, and that is also one of the reasons why I don't see Sneha Rana featuring in the playing 11, or to an extent Sushma Verma, because she's only part of the team for the Tri Series, and you have Yastika as the second wicket keeper in the World Cup squad after Richa Ghosh. So they would want Yastika to probably play the four matches, get used to the conditions, and then take it from there.
But I do believe that India would be playing somewhat conservatively if they do not give Amanjot Kaur a chance in at least one of the games, irrespective of how their campaign turns out. Because Amanjot, in my view, could be somebody who might slot in as a regular over the next few months in the near future, because she used to play for Chandigarh, has represented the Punjab Cricket Association in the recent past, is the daughter of a carpenter, has a great story, and is that batting all-rounder who can bowl pace. Again, we've spoken about this facet of the Indian lineup several times as to how most of their top batters or most of their frontline batters do not bowl, and the all-rounders that they have are majorly spinners. Is
Yeah.
Amanjot Kaur that answer, the answer they're looking for in terms of resolving the paucity of batters who can bowl pace? Because if you look at an Australia, for example, they do have a few of them who can
Yeah.
roll their arm over and bowl a bit of pace. And some of the top teams, Nat Siver, for example,
Yeah.
Catherine Brown, have shouldered that
Sophie
responsibility.
Devine, yeah.
Sophie Devine, Susie Bates, right? They have played those roles, played that particular role to perfection for so many years. So Amanjot Kaur, keep an eye out. So she is somebody who comes in with a lot of promise because she was among the runs in the
Yeah.
senior T20 trophy last year. Amanjot Kaur, whether Harmanpreet takes that punt and goes out of what is
Yeah.
the team's comfort zone and her own comfort zone to back somebody on the big stage in international cricket, and not just take her to a tour and like has happened with say the Indrani Roys and the Simran
Yeah.
Dil Bahadurs at
Yeah.
times, send her back to the country after not getting a game. So even at the risk of precariously tweaking their starting 11, I would love for Amanjot Kaur to get at least one game.
Absolutely. I think she deserves that place in the playing 11 with the way she's performed, not only this season, but in the past couple of seasons as well. And I hope she does, but even if she doesn't get the game, I'm sure that she'll be in the reckoning for the next tournament. Because I think she lends a lot of balance to this Indian side in terms of her all round abilities, and with India not having the luxury of their top order or top six having somebody who can bowl pace, she's probably one of the players to watch out for.
And mark my words, the franchises at the women's IPL, whoever those franchises happen to be, will go for big money as far as getting Amanjot
Yeah.
Kaur on board is concerned, because what she brings to the table as a very formidable batter who can bowl very good pace. I think who can bowl pace. That makes her one of the top contenders to go for a lot of money despite not being capped just yet. So Amanjot Kaur, dear viewers, please keep an eye out for her. The big news of the day is finally out, something that the cricket community had been following with somewhat bated breath over the past few weeks, and that is the women's IPL media rights have been sold. The bid took place in a closed manner in Mumbai earlier today, and the result is that Viacom 18, a company owned by Reliance, has walked away with the media rights. TV, digital, as well as combined for a staggering 951 crore with a valuation of 7.09 crores for per game. And that is being done for a 5 year cycle from 2023 to 2027. Shweta, what does this mean for the women's IPL? And mind you, Jaisha, the BCCI secretary, has tweeted out this news saying that this is for brand women's IPL. So all the talk that we
Yeah,
were hearing in the past week of the tournament likely to be called the Women's T20 League is
yeah.
somewhat out the window, and it's a staggering amount nonetheless, right?
It is, it is. It is indeed a very happy Monday if you're a fan of Indian cricket and women's cricket, especially. We've been waiting for this news for a very long time. There have been talks about women's IPL, but to actually have the media rights sold and Viacom, as a women's player, it is very heartening to see Viacom or probably Disney actually being interested in a women's IPL. So that is something that, it just goes us to show where women's cricket is heading as far as Indian team is concerned. And we've seen what the men's IPL has done to the Indian team as far as the bench strength is there. So it couldn't have been better to have a women's IPL, and for per match 7.09 crores is something that none of us expected, to be honest. But in the last, I think in October, when BCCI actually announced equal pay for women's cricket, and plus this news, it just goes to show where BCCI is heading as far as the growth and development of women's sport is concerned. And I think it is the step in the right direction.
And going by this huge amount of 951 crores for a 5 year period, it sort of throws a few insights towards what or how aggressively the franchises could bid for the
Yeah.
teams themselves, and also how the player auction next month might pan out. And considering the fact that Viacom 18, remember, had won the IPL digital media rights for the subcontinent and also the combined TV and digital package for the same region, and also some of the overseas regions like Australia and UK, to name a few. I'm pretty sure that helped them get the advantage they required over a big brand like Disney Star, which has the IPL men's rights. So here is Viacom, who becomes a direct competition to Disney Star in terms of brand IPL of sorts, because
Yeah.
when you look at the men's tournament, which they have the digital rights for, and now with the entire TV plus digital and combined rights to the women's IPL, they have positioned themselves as potentially one of the next big
Yeah.
things in Indian cricket as far as media rights are concerned. And not to forget that there were other players involved as well, as we've come to know, especially from reports we've had from Nagraj Golapuri, a senior reporter with. And the 951 crore valuation for a 5 year period also perhaps throws light towards the direction the BCCI might want to take this property over the next few years after the cycle ends in the future, over a long term, a 10 or 15-year term period, as we've seen happen with the men's league, in terms of how it's become comparable to some of the top leagues in the world, whether it be the Premier League, to mention. So maybe the women's IPL in the very near future not only will go on to become the most prestigious league in terms of both brand value and the quality of cricket we see in world cricket, but also might want to compete with the WNBA, the Premier Basketball League in the
Yeah.
United States of America, and also the Women's Super League, the Premier, the highest level football league that we see, has revolutionized the women's game in
Yeah.
England, which also paved the way for their Euros 2022 superlative victory. So lots to unpack out of this huge development in Indian cricket today. And as Jaisha has called it a huge mandate, I'm pretty sure it will set the ball rolling in terms of all potential stakeholders, all those interested in owning a women's IPL team, or kind of getting the kind of players they would want to get at the auction. They are going to bid aggressively for everything that is there to be bought. So great day for Indian cricket and great day for women's cricket nonetheless, isn't it, Shweta?
It is, and as of today, we do not have a structure of how the tournament's going to play. We know is 5 teams, and for Vicom to have that faith in the BCCI and do that, especially for women's cricket, I think it's a historic day. And as a player, these are days that you always want to be a part of, because it just helps you grow and develop the sport, and that is what the women's IPL, I'm assuming, is going to be. It is going to be the stepping stone for India to become a dominant side in the next 10 years.
And to have this development come about in what is already a busy fortnight for women's cricket globally, with the under 19 women's T20 World Cup taking place in South Africa, the T20 Tri Series featuring the Indian team and host South Africa and West Indies slated to begin this week, and the senior women's one day trophy also scheduled for this week. As far as the start is concerned, I think it has definitely gotten the world talking about women's cricket in India, and how big and lucrative financial property the women's game can be. And maybe it will go on to spur a revolution, another revolution in the women's cricket landscape, as did women's football in England. With that, we have a look ahead to everything that we have lined up for you on this show. Stay tuned.